everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and I've got another Taylor Swift sock video for you today. This is going to be the first sock video where I work off of a specific pattern. I've mentioned in the past that I've used a vanilla sock pattern from, oh gosh, now I'm not going to remember her name. Good thing I have the new pattern up. Why does this always happen when I turn on the camera? I immediately forget the names of everything I needed to use. For my previous socks knit in sock weight yarn, I have used the SOS Basic Sock Pattern by Summer Lee Design Co. Just as like my base for stitch count and stuff like that, and then I've been kind of adding my own patterns on top of it. This time I'm going to be using an actual written pattern for the entirety of the sock, so the stitch pattern as well. I'm going to be using the Mermaid Avenue socks, again by Summer Lee Design Co., because I absolutely fell in love with the mermaid stitch and how fantastic it looked with a variegated yarn. Now that brings me to the second point of starting this pattern, which is what album we're covering and what song we're inspired by for this pair of socks. If you haven't watched the rest of this series, I've been knitting a pair of socks inspired by each of Taylor Swift's albums, usually specifically focused around a single song for the inspiration. For this pair of socks, I'm going to be using the album 1989 and the song Wildest Dreams. And I went a little kind of off the song directly for this one, and am kind of taking inspiration from the fact that the instrumental version of Wildest Dreams has been used for so many fantasy edits and like big costume things on TikTok. So I kind of wanted to lean into the fantasy inspiration that fits really well with that song and do this pair of mermaid inspired socks. I am also going to be using a variegated yarn, as I mentioned before. This is the Yarn Bee Authentic hand-dyed yarn in the color Opal Violet. It is 400 yards, 100% superwash merino, and it is this beautiful light blue, purple green, slightly like pinkish toned variegated yarn. But I thought it fit really well with the kind of beachy vibes of the new 1989 album, in addition to being a mermaid inspired pattern. I am definitely going to be taking this project on the road a couple times while working on it because I have a couple of out of town things coming up, so I thought it would be perfect to start a fun new project in order to take with me. My needles for this project are going to be my Chowgu red lace needles that I kind of always use now for socks. And I also have my light bulb stitch markers ready to go so that I can mark how many rows I have completed. Although I'm not sure if I will need these as much as I normally do on a vanilla sock because this is a patterned sock and it's pretty clear like that you can count rows with the stitch pattern itself. So we'll see if I end up needing these or not. I've got scissors, I've got coffee. I think all that's left to do is to dive right into the sock knitting. Okay, it's now day 2 of working on this pair of socks, and this is what we've got so far. I love this stitch pattern. It definitely looks like Little Mermaid scales. Hopefully it's focusing correctly. I'll hold it over my face so that it focuses. But this is so beautiful. I love this pattern. I've done 2 repeats of the stitch pattern so far, which gave me like this much on the leg past the ribbing. I think I'm gonna do at least 1 more rotation, maybe 2 of the stitch repeat and then start the heel. I also love that this really makes the variegated yarn pop. I think it's really, really pretty. But I'm just gonna keep knitting the leg and hopefully start the heel here pretty soon. Alright, I wanted to jump in with a progress clip of how far I am on my socks and also to explain what's going on today. So this is the progress on the sock. I did finish the heel last night, so now I'm just working on the foot. Still love how this mermaid stitch is working up, but I wanted to explain why you're gonna get some weird clips today. Also, I'm holding everything in a bag that a friend made me, which makes me so happy. But you'll notice from my shirt, we are actually going to the Milwaukee German Fest today, which is why I have some time in the car to work on my knitting, because it takes us a little bit to get there. And then after we go to German Fest, because we're just going for like some of the midday things and to see the air show, which is happening at the same time, we're then driving a family member to the airport and then driving around in Illinois to like visit some other family members. So it's a packed day with a lot of time in the car. Unfortunately, I don't think I can bring my knitting into German Fest with me, and I kind of don't want to risk it because Summerfest tends to confiscate items that try to go through security that they don't accept. So I'm going to leave it in the car, but I'll have lots of car progress today. I also have my flower crown ready to go and my little beer stein earrings, even though I can't drink beer. But it's going to be a lot of car knitting today, so let's get going. Hello again. It's now Monday, so I ended up doing a lot of work on this sock over the weekend, but not as much as I guess I didn't really do that much. I kind of thought that I might be able to finish the first sock over the weekend, and that did not happen. But I got a lot of work done considering how much time I had to work on it. So the day that I went to German Fest and we took a family member to the airport and then checked on other family members, I really only got about an hour and 10 minutes of knitting time in the car just because of other stuff that was going on and because some of the legs of driving were in the dark, and I don't like knitting in the car in the dark. Even if I can like turn a light on, it's just not quite enough. And especially for a pattern like this one where there's some complicated stitches going on, I didn't want to risk trying to do it in the dark, especially with like there's little bars that you pick up to make the mermaid scale pattern, and I was absolutely sure I was going to miss one of the little bars in the dark, so decided not to risk it. But I did work on it a little bit yesterday on Sunday, just in between our normal Sunday routine stuff. So I am now a good way into the foot. So there's the heel, there's the foot. I think I forgot to say when I showed my progress before that I do have a stitch marker in here. And that is just marking where I began the heel. So usually from whatever marker I start the heel on, I knit between probably 65 and 75 rows for the foot, just depending on what the stitch pattern is. I've done 4 repeats of the 12 row repeat. Yes, 4 sections of the 12 row repeat, which means I have 48 rows done. And so that means I have like 2 or 3 repeats left, something like that, before I start the toe decreases. I can't talk today. It's just one of those days. I also have really been enjoying working this stitch pattern. I thought it was going to be really intimidating at first just because it looked really funky, but even though it's a 12 row repeat, it's really a 6 row repeat that just staggers every other set of 6. And then within that 6, half of those rows are knit all rows. So the pattern is not actually that complicated to do. And Summer Lee on her channel has a tutorial for like the one really tricky stitch in the pattern, as well as some really good photographs in the pattern of how to do it. So it is turning out absolutely beautiful. I think this is one of my favorite pairs of socks I've made ever so far. I'm just really enjoying the texture. I love how this yarn looks, and I'm not usually a pastels person. I feel like I found this with my Fearless socks too, I loved my Fearless socks just because the colors were so fun, even though they're not colors I typically wear, and I'm definitely feeling the same way about these. So plan for today, because it's now Monday afternoon, I spent the morning working in the library at school. For those of you who don't know, I'm now a school librarian, but I'm spending some time over the summer like reorganizing the library and putting the books in a place that makes more sense for me as the person who's going to be continuing to keep it organized. Which means I move books for like 3 hours in the morning, get very, very sweaty, come back here and like need to do something quiet for the rest of the day. So that is the plan, is just going to be to work on these socks. I've got some YouTube videos queued up, some knitting podcasts, some like Reddit stories podcasts, on YouTube to watch. And then since it's Monday, tonight is actually The Bachelorette. So I will probably continue knitting through tonight's episode of The Bachelorette, which I'm not liking this season as much as I have liked some seasons in the past. Feel free to skip ahead if you're not here for the Bachelorette discourse. I originally started watching the Bachelor franchise because at my old school, it felt like all of my coworkers watched it. So I felt like I was like missing something when they would have like casual conversations, because that show was running like almost all the time between Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise, and now there's like the Golden Bachelor. I think they're going to start the Golden Bachelorette. Like, there was always some version of it that was on, and because I'm in education, like, it's a predominantly female workspace, so I started watching it because I genuinely felt like I was like missing references. So I started watching with a really close friend, because we also like didn't have a way to watch it at that time, because we didn't do TV at all. We only did streaming services, and we didn't have Hulu. So I watched it with a friend, starting with the Bachelorette season that was Claire and Tayshia, the like split season, and had a lot of fun watching like with my friend and talking about it with coworkers. But I think all of us have kind of gotten to a point of like, it's not as fun to watch anymore. Like, the dramas, I don't want to say the drama's not good. Like, there's definitely dramatic things that happen, but it feels like very forced and very fake. I also like Jen, the current Bachelorette, seems like a wonderful person, but I was really surprised that she was the one who was picked. Just out of the women who were on Joey's season of The Bachelor, she seemed like kind of a strange choice. I wonder if other people said no. But we're kind of enjoying watching this. It seems like the guys in this one are really goofy, and there's also a lot fewer of them. So I feel like I know who's who a little bit better than I usually do. But all of that being said, it makes for excellent background TV for like semi-complicated knitting. So I will definitely be continuing to work on that through the evening. Hopefully I can finish the first sock today, maybe even start the second one, because I'd really like to get these socks wrapped up so I can move on to some other fun projects this week. Hello again, it's now Tuesday. So last night during Bachelorette, I was able to start the second sock. I got a little way through the leg and then worked on it a little bit this morning before I turned the camera on, and now I am partially through the heel. So I'm going to work on this for a little longer this afternoon, and I'm really, really hoping that I can finish this sock tomorrow. I have another like schoolwork day in the morning, and then I'll have the afternoon for some knitting time, and I actually have my craft club tomorrow, so if I don't finish it tomorrow afternoon, I'll take it to craft club with me and hopefully finish it there. But yeah, we're making good progress on sock number 2, so let's just keep on knitting. And we have a finished pair of socks. This is what they look like from the top. Again, absolutely loving this stitch pattern. And here's what they look like from the side. I just like kind of left them folded differently. The one thing I noticed about this sock pattern, because there are rows that are comprised mostly of slip stitches in the stitch pattern, it means that the bottom of the sock kind of curves when you're making it. Because it technically has more rows than the top of the sock does. This is not noticeable when you're wearing the sock, like it feels totally fine. But if you make the same pair of socks and notice that, don't worry, you didn't mess up. That's just how the stitch pattern works. But these are a completed pair that I can now add to my Taylor Swift collection. And I really had fun making these socks. I enjoyed following like a fully written pattern. I think this was the first time I've done that for a pair of socks. Obviously, I've followed like vanilla sock patterns before, but this was the first like complex stitch pattern sock that I followed. I say complex, it wasn't really that hard. It just looks challenging. So this is a great like intermediate sock pattern if you have gotten the basics of socks down and are looking to try something a little bit more fun. This is a great pattern to use, and again, I'll make sure to link it below. So that you can purchase the pattern if you want to. And I really had fun making these, and I hope you had fun watching. That's going to be it for this video. If you want to follow me here on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you can be notified of all of my crafty content right here on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on other social media sites, that information will be in the description box below. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.